someone, you never really forget them.
Who could have polluted the entire Earth?
September 21st, 1945. That was the night I died.
Anger of the old reflects the anger of the earth. The earth knows it's wrong for us to survive.
Concrete roads everywhere I go. But I had no idea my crystal was so incredibly powerful.
There's another curse. Make all your bacon burn.
Totoro? Is that what your name is?
It's time for Argo City Podcast to jump into the world of Studio Ghibli.
And we have returned!
So, this week it is Movie Wheel of Boom, and...
We got a fun one today. Well, a weird one.
But is it weird? Actually, I think that's going to be my biggest criticism, that it's not necessarily weird enough.
This week
we'll come back to it. We're back to our Miyazaki review.
Yeah, this week we watched A Whisper of the Heart, which I stuck into the wheel because it's another Studio Ghibli movie, and my goal is to have us watch all of them. So,
and this is one that I haven't heard of at all.
Neither have I. I've just seen the artwork of it like everywhere, which for the life of me, I can't understand why. Because I'm...
Yeah, I was about to say, so what artwork are you... Like what have you seen?
It's the cat.
It's all the cat.
The cat is everywhere. I've seen artwork of the cat. It's on all the posters. It's on the Baron. The Baron is barely in this.
Yes. So if we look at like the thumbnail or the main poster, it is our heroine floating on a cloud next to an anthropomorphic
cat,
mystical cat.
It's a screen cap from 2 minutes of animation.
Yeah,
like that's it. The Baron, I mean, he's like he's essentially a figure, and the screen cap we see is like her imagining him and her story, but the toy that he's based off of is like barely
it doesn't even
shown.
Look like the toy.
Yeah, and it's like barely in. They use him as a device for the romance going on in the story, which romance doesn't happen until later on in the story, therefore he's not even brought in until later in the story.
And I think we got everybody kind of confused anyhow. So we really do need to talk about what exactly is Whisper of the Heart about. What is this story? And you know what? That's a hard ask, because I'm not entirely certain what the story was.
It's a story of a normal girl doing normal girl things, going to school, doing chores, studying for high school, writing stories, and there's a slight side romance with a boy, but even then he's barely in it, so it's hard to give a summary.
IMDb describes this as a love story between a girl who loves reading books and a boy who has checked out all of those books ahead of her.
Okay,
and that's as much as IMDb says.
And it's like that's kind of accurate for 5 minutes.
It's kind of accurate. It's 2 lines to try and describe 2 hours.
And to be fair, that is the best idea of romance I could ever think of. It's like the fan fiction reader in my heart is like, how amazing of a fantasy story could we get with this? Someone write me a fic on this. I will read it.
They did. They wrote Whisper of the Heart.
Well, still, I mean, I want this as a trope. Why can't this be a more popular trope?
I think part of that is because in the 21st century, we've kind of lost some of it. Yeah. Even in the movie, she says the libraries are all going to digital, as opposed to what she was doing. Her library, I don't know how many people out there listening had this experience. You actually did, and I was surprised and pleased. But back in the day, library books had a little pocket stuck inside the back cover, and there's a couple cards in there.
Yeah.
So you write down your name, the date, and they stamp it coming in and out. And that's how you know when it's due to be returned. But you can also look back and see who else has borrowed it before. So the trope's really interesting, and it's something that's kind of lost. I just read a mystery that included one of these.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm reading some of Isaac Asimov's Black Widowers mysteries. So it's a club that gets together to try and solve puzzles and problems and mysteries.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
And one of them, this one man, he was like a nuclear physicist or something, and he was hiding his work.
Oh.
He was hiding it in the house just in case somebody ransacked the house. Where he had hid it was in one of the library books that he had out behind the card. And that was the whole thing. They had to figure out that it was there, which unfortunately his wife had returned the library book.
Oh, no!
So they had to go find it to confirm, okay, this is where your secret was hidden. It's fun stuff.
That does sound like fun.
And it is such a great trope. And it's something that I think we've really, really lost within the digital age.
Yeah, like, to be honest, like, the last time I remember seeing those cards as a kid, I was in elementary school, and I remembered this because I was the person that was always checking out books, because the books I would check out were, like, I'd finish them in a day. So I would, like, beg the instructors to, like, let me back. And it's not even, like, the good I'd finish a whole entire book in a day. It's because I picked shorter books, and I finished them.
Yes and no. I mean, it's still not...
But
it's still a thing.
But, like, legitimately, like, a month or two ago, I was up at our local library, I was checking out Howl's Moving Castle, because a friend of mine lended me their library card so that I could check the book out. It was literally, imagine a self-checkout. That's what I did. I did a self-checkout for a book. Why is that a thing?
Like, you don't even get to interact with the librarian anymore.
Like, you can. And I was like, I was in a rush because I was trying to get home before our movie night because I got out of work late. But like,
I mean, I personally don't want to interact with the librarian, but you do. You're far more social than I am.
I like to talk to people.
They even pulled this trope in Young Sheldon.
Really?
Where he's trying to figure out how to make friends, and he checked out a book on how to make friends and influence people. So he decided to look up all the people that had checked it out before him. And it didn't end well, but still. So, yeah, I think it's just something that we've kind of lost in the digital age. We used to talk about this, too, with the video store. Like, back when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, we had to go to... Well, when I was a young adult, it was Blockbuster. But before that, every town had one or two mom and pop shops that were video rental shops.
Huh.
We did that instead of streaming. So you'd go there, and maybe you get to know the guy behind the counter. So you talk to them about what kind of film. I mean, for some people, this was their film education. And it's another one of those things that we've kind of lost, because now it's not a guy recommending this or that or pointing you in this one direction or another. It's an algorithm. And it's just, it's one of the reasons why I always talk about why I go to Cinema Wasteland and certain conventions like that, because there's a certain curation. They're helping me find the films that I didn't know I needed to watch.
Funny thing, remember a couple weeks ago when we went to Hall of Fame?
Yes.
When I was stuck in the line with a friend of yours, me and him were actually talking all about anime, and he actually recommended a couple to me, and I recommended a couple to him. So I feel like that's kind of alive in the convention space, but outside of it, it's like you have to be in an area that's niche enough where people will understand that nicheness.
Well, and you know what? It's also kind of the point of us doing movie nights.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to give you an education and show you the stuff that you need to see. And you're showing me the stuff that means something to you as well.
Yeah, and trying to come up with movies that I've seen that you haven't, which is becoming more of a problem as we go on.
Yeah, that's always going to be difficult. But so I think it's also interesting that they're talking a little bit about rare books, and she's interested in rare books. And it's like, what exactly are you going to define as a rare book? But also, I have found frequently that some of the rarer stuff is not necessarily the better stuff.
Oh?
Well, the rare stuff becomes rare because it goes out of print. People stop publishing it. People stop reprinting it.
No.
Usually there's a reason for that.
Oh no.
There's if we go back to film for a second, there is a VHS tape. It's an old shot on VHS, shot on video movie called Tales from the Quadead Zone. And
That is a very dramatic title.
it's an anthology. It's like 3 stories, all loosely kind of strung together. And it was made just by this one guy. Like, he's working construction during the day, and he's making his movie at night to see if he can get some traction. He didn't go anywhere. He made 2 movies. I've seen them both because, well, again, Cinema Wasteland. Cinema Wasteland tracked him down and brought him in one
good
year.
for them.
It's amazing. But this videotape of this terrible shot on video anthology was going on eBay for hundreds of dollars.
Really?
Because nobody could find it. There weren't that many of them out there, and it had built up such a legend around itself that it became rare.
I feel like I'm not sure how much you are in the like Pokemon fandom. I know you were for a little bit when I was at my peak hyperfixation, but are you aware of like the whole Charizard card thing?
I'm not aware of that specifically, but the idea of there being a couple
like,
of Grail
there's like
pieces,
a specific card that's worth like
absolutely makes sense to me.
thousands of dollars, and it's like it's a Charizard card. It's not that special. For the life of me, I mean, I have a ton of cards from my hyperfixation era, but even then, I think my rarest card is like a Japanese like Raichu that we got at a con. I think it was at a con.
Yeah, I mean, like the very few like rare and valuable comic books that I have, well, I mean, those actually are kind of rare and mean something. I've got the first appearance of the Punisher. I've got the death of Gwen Stacy, and I've got them signed by the writer. So that actually means something. I've got the Superman Wedding album, which I have just flooded with signatures from different Superman artists and writers.
Fun.
And so I've got a few things like that, not much. But that's kind of the thing. Rarity is sometimes it's just because it was that important. And usually it was that important and nobody noticed and threw them all away, or it's because it just wasn't that great and went away. I've got a set of rare books actually that I'm looking for that I keep trying to track down at reasonable prices. They're
What
old
books are they?
They're a series called Dark Forces or Twilight When Darkness Begins, something like that. They're young adult horror books. And one of my friends actually told me the reason that you can't find these anywhere is because when all the kids grew up, nobody thought anything about them. Their parents threw them all away.
Oh no.
There's like one that I found a bunch of digital copies of some of them. I can't for the life of me find a copy of Blood Red Roses, which is the one that really sticks in my mind, and I haven't read it since I was in junior high. And if it pops up, it's like $50, and I'm not paying $50 for a book that's less than an inch thick.
Yeah.
I can't deal with that. So, yeah, the idea of playing with rare books, maybe we're making more out of it than the movie does, but it's one of those things that just stuck in the back of my head.
And actually, speaking about books, especially at the very beginning, when she originally meets her like love interest, she's reading a book of fairy tales. Back when I was a child, I used to be afraid of the dark, and I would never go outside because at the time we were watching like The Walking Dead, and I hated zombies, and I was like, oh my god, if I'm gonna go outside in the darkness, a zombie is gonna fight me.
Well, it's like you hated them, but you still wanted to see them. I had a very similar relationship with the Twilight Zone because it scared me, it terrified me, it made me afraid to go to bed. but I wanted more.
Yeah.
And you kind of had that same thing going on with a lot of that zombie stuff.
Yeah, but the way that we counteracted that was we would go on night walks and you would read me stories out of an old fairy tale book. The main one being Unicorns in Chess. I still know that one. I still have the packet that you gave me.
That's an old Rogers Lassie story, yes.
It is the best thing ever. And I thought that was fascinating that they were like teasing each other about it, and then we were also doing that when I was a kid. So.
Yeah. Well, and as she's looking for books and weird stuff, she stumbles upon this curious little store out in the middle of nowhere.
I love little stores like that.
The store, it doesn't open that often.
It's like open when he wants to be open, and that's it.
But it's just, it's like that's paradise. Looking through the junk, looking through all of the interesting things, looking through the books, looking through the curious statuette of a cat.
And, literally, I've been getting more into, like, the vintage and thrift storing stuff recently. Last Saturday, I went and I hit up Jamie's Flea Market, and I was exploring around there, because I haven't been there since I was, like, 4 feet tall, and it was wonderful.
We used to go and trick-or-treat there.
They had candy buckets out. I wanted to go get candy. I wonder if they'll let me trick-or-treat next time I go. I'll have to ask.
It's that treasure hunt. And the idea of finding that sort of a little hidden store, a little hidden place. I don't remember if I've done it on the podcast or not. I think I have. But I've told you a little bit about the Illyria Bazaar.
Yes.
Which was a little hole in the wall in downtown. I'd ride my bike out there. And literally it's just a door. No sign. Unless you looked at, like, real close at the door. And my father, who was a mailman out there, he told me that it existed. People didn't know it existed. You'd go through that door, walk up 3 flights of stairs, and you'd find yourself in this very small room, about the size of our house, just the ground floor of our house, filled with books and comics, and it had that smell to it, and the proprietor was an old Mr. Rogers type, and you'd bring him your purchase, and he'd grab a little paper sheet with multiplication tables on it, basically. Let's see how much we owe the government on this, and he would scroll down to whatever the total was.
That's amazing!
It would tell him what your tax was and what the total plus tax was.
That is so cool. That is actually so cool.
I duplicated this, like, on the back of my clipboard so that I can do it when I'm out with clients.
Really?
And entirely because of him.
No, I've never heard of that. That's fascinating. Oh my gosh, I need to start doing that. That's, oh my god, that would make my life so much easier in real life.
But I love little hole-in-the-wall, hidden, just mystery stores like that. It's one of the reasons why we go to do stuff at, like, the Case Western Reserve Film Society. Because, again, it's a hole in the wall that nobody knows about that plays these magic movies and stuff.
No, and, like, I feel like as the older I get and the more I'm driving, especially on my own, I'm also, like, instead of being the weirdness, like, no, I want to go straight home, I'm like, oh, what's going on over here? And then
yes, what's in that building?
I legitimately, like, 2 days ago when I was driving home from work, I passed by a stall that was, like, unicorns 50 cents, and it was, like, a little stall with, like, tons of plush unicorns, and I was like, oh, I wish I could, but I have to get to work. Why?
Well, I mean, even when we were in downtown Cleveland visiting all the Superman sites,
that's true.
We're walking back to the car, and you're like, there's a bookstore over there. Can we go in the bookstore? Okay, yes, we can go in the bookstore.
I pulled you all over the place when we were in Cleveland. I made us walk through the memorial and through everything else.
But that's how you find these hidden treasures and these
side quests.
Weird yes. So we went into the bookstore and we came out with 3 books.
Yeah, that's right.
We wandered around Tower City and found ourselves in an Easter fairyland.
Also true. He's not even kidding. That place was beautiful.
So I love that she's playing into this.
She literally followed a cat.
That's right. And I kept expecting that cat, just that fat street cat, to turn into the one in the poster.
That's what I was expecting.
And it didn't happen.
It was so boring.
So, I mean, really, as she's slowly falling in love with this boy, who is going to have to go away to school soon, she just it gets into what you would call a hyperfixation. I have a story I need to write, and I need to do this. I need to show him that I can be something. I need to get this done before he comes back. It's an arbitrary set of conditions, but it just drives and consumes her. And she's writing the story about, well, the cat.
The cat, yeah.
And this is where we get the cover art from. And we get, like you said, very little of it. It's only like 2 minutes. And it's the cat and the cat finding a mate. And what's interesting is when she brings it back to the shop, and luckily finds it open.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
The proprietor tells her, well, that's interesting because this doll has a mate. It was part of a set. It was part of a pair. And the person I bought it from didn't want to sell it to me unless he could sell both. Well, this girl that I knew back then, she bought the other one. Now, I'd have to go away to war, but I'd come back. I promised I'd come back, and the dolls would be reunited when we were.
Yeah.
And we never were.
I
But
wonder...
it's the story that reunites them.
Yeah, I wonder... Because this movie has a sequel called The Cat Returns. So I'm wondering if we'll get more in that. But to be honest, I don't know if I'm really wanting to pursue a second movie in this.
I don't know that there's a need for a sequel. I mean, because the only thing that's really fantasy here is the story that the girl writes. And that's like, I spent the whole movie just watching it like, this is not weird enough.
Yeah, the whole thing with Miyazaki, he does an incredible job telling realistic stories of real people acting in the real world. A lot of his earlier movies are like that, but compared to a lot of the later ones where we are in Spirited Away in a whole other fantasy world, we're in Howl's Moving Castle in this beautiful city.
Right, and that's what I'm looking
different.
for. I'm looking for sky ships and cities in the clouds and witches and fairies and magic, and
this
it's
is not.
and the poster promises me those things.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting it. Now, I did actually find an alternate poster for this.
You did?
I did. I'm going to pull that up over here on IMDb.
Oh, yes. Let me see the
because
other poster.
it makes so much more sense.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
It's our heroine and her beau on a bike riding away into
the distance or whatever.
Yeah, into the audience even. And yes, see, if my poster is like this, then I understand I'm going into a Hallmark movie. And if my poster, on the other hand, is a girl in a frilly dress accompanied by a magic cat, I think I'm going into some anime Alice in Wonderland sort of fantasy. And I think we both felt a little bit disappointed here.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the movie itself. I think it's because we came in expecting
fantasy.
A completely different genre.
Yeah.
Something completely different.
Because, like I was saying before, we're not used to these, down-to-earth Miyazaki movies. The ones we've seen, well, maybe with the even with Grave of the Fireflies, that's still kind of
It's a heightened reality, and there's a lot of drama. It's not your average housewife's Harlequin paperback romance pulling it off the shelf. It's a gritty, I'm going to rip your heart out and drag it through the mud kind of drama.
Yeah. Go check that episode out if you want to see me sob.
I'll say this, though, too. Watching the roads that they bike on.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Suzume.
Oh
a
my
lot
gosh.
of the travel.
Can we actually talk about that? This city feels so alive. There's
a lot of culture there.
We see, even just the simple fact of cars driving past them when they're on the road, or when they are when we're walking through the city, we see people in the background doing their own thing. They're not like little blurred people. These are fully drawn people doing their own thing in the background.
We see laundry getting hung up in these apartments. Laundry getting hung up on clotheslines outside.
And they're not even in focus.
Right, and you get such a good feel for the culture of the culture of this region.
And Miyazaki is so good at that.
And I mean, it's a suburb that's just a hop, skip, and a jump from a sprawling urban metropolis. Because you're just surrounded by buildings and architecture and brick and mortar. And when you get home, there's some hills, but you're not too far removed from it. It's a little softer, and that's all. Just a little bit softer. And so, I feel like it's just... This is why I can't fault the movie. I fault our expectations going into it. If we wanted to just spend some time in suburban Japan with the plight of a schoolgirl who is really falling in love for the first time, and is this going to work? And are we following her through the hidden areas of the city and exploring it? It is. It's all an exploration of this city.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of romance, because I wanted to know if there's a thing for this with guys as there is with girls. For part of the story, we see our main girl and her friend. And there's this other boy, not the main love interest, but another one that confesses to the female protagonist. And, well, just so happens that her best friend is actually interested in that boy. And I'm curious, there's this thing in girl code where if your friend likes someone, you don't go after that guy. If your friend is interested in that person, you kind of take a step back, or you turn them towards their direction. You don't do that. That's against girl code. That will essentially ruin any friendship you have. I'm curious if there's something like that with guys.
Yes, yeah, and I say that without hesitation. Now, there is presuming that you are hanging out with quality people, with good guys. And maybe that's just me, because I didn't waste my time hanging out with losers. I didn't waste my time hanging out with leches or the people who were consumed by their habits. And I think quality people do tend to draw quality people to them. But it's just... I think if it's somebody worthwhile, if it's a friendship worthwhile, that is absolutely a part of it. And I know that I spoke with friends of mine about that exact same thing. Absolutely. Then again, you're going to have guys that just don't care. And those are not the people that I want to be a part of my life. The thing is, while it's not something that we think about, guys do talk about relationships. They do talk about women, and they do talk about philosophy and ideas. Now, to be fair, men will focus on the macro, on the bigger picture, whereas women will focus on the micro, on the smaller picture. So, girls will talk about their relationship. Guys will talk about their life and the marriage that they envision. So it all meets somewhere in the middle. That's kind of the point. That's the difference between men and women, and mixing those two things creates something far more evenly balanced. And I actually think we see a lot more of this than we give it credit for in anime. We're more likely to see the schoolboys talking about that. Yeah. Now, sometimes you'll see the leches as well. But then again, I'm coming back to, I don't want to hang out with that person.
Yeah, I've fallen into... Well, to be fair, none of the girls in my high school really did. It wasn't really a big thing, but when it was just more of like okay, you do you. We're rooting for you. We'll let you know if he does something stupid, but you do your best. And it was kind of just left at that.
Yeah, I mean, it turns into a problem then if they're dating somebody that is icky, Because
yeah, because then you try to pull them away at every cost.
Well, that's the thing. Do you? Because especially what happens when they break up? First breakup never takes. And you're going on record then trashing them after they break up, and then they get back together and there's weirdness. It's a really... Sometimes that is a really tough line. And sometimes it is a matter of you got to take them aside and like, seriously, what are you doing? Do you not see it?
Yeah,
and sometimes it's not.
I would be like, that's kind of another thing that brings me back to the whole idea of girl code. Like, if a guy is doing something bad or doing something stupid, you tell them whether they want to hear it or not. Because at the end of the day, they're going to know, oh, you were doing the right thing. Or, oh, even if they don't agree with you at the time, if things go sour, then they know they can still trust you. Like I said, I can't...
That sounds great on paper.
It does sound great on paper.
I'm not sure how well it always works in practice.
It does sound great on paper. And as I said, I'm not speaking from experience. I'm speaking from what I've heard, what I've seen, and like I said, my friends have never really... I've only ever had one friend that was really into dating, and she was like 3 years younger than me, so I didn't get involved in any of that. But like,
I'm struggling actually with that a little bit for the next novel, because I do need to kind of... We've talked a little bit about this offline. I need to wrap up Violent Blue, and there's at least one more novel.
Yeah.
I need to put a bow on that, and all of this is going to actually come into play. So it's actually kind of cool to talk about it a little bit and work it out in my head with that.
Yeah.
Speaking of working things out in my head and things that I had great difficulty with, what's with country roads pervading this movie?
It does feel
it's
really
not even
random.
just country road. Even like when it's the English version, it's Olivia Newton-John, I believe. It's not John Denver.
Yeah.
And it's just... Okay, for all the lack of fantasy, we got plenty of weirdness listening to this song. You
called that out fairly early. You even called my mother over and was like, listen to this crap.
And every one of us can sing it. Every one of us knows a bunch of the words to this.
Yeah.
So I actually looked a little bit of this up, too, because apparently this is a really popular song in the karaoke bars.
Really?
This is just, it's one of those that everybody seems to sing, according to what little research I can see on the internet. But that's interesting. But it would also make sense then why you're going to use this, because I guess it's culturally familiar, and that's weird to me that this is so culturally familiar.
That's fascinating that it's like also not even traveled from the U.S. but traveled to other countries as well.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely shows you definitely made a mark with that song.
But then they also have their own words.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just that they're singing it in Japanese. When we get the translations, I'm looking at these translations and I'm like, those are not the verses. This is...
Yeah. But to be fair, she did say that she rewrote her version, so...
She did, but even before that, I felt like we were getting stuff that I just don't recognize. And that's going to be interesting. We're going to play around a little bit with that. I know you definitely wanted to kind of learn more, see if you can learn some of the song and some of
Yes, I want to learn this Japanese version, and I'm going to sing it if we do a cover of it, because I want to. I want to sing this. But I did want to bring up another thing while we're on the topic of like school and such. So, the whole entire school, getting to see the inside of the school and the gate and stuff. I am going to be really controversial here when I say I really enjoyed Yandere Simulator when it first came out. It's a shame that the guy came out to be a pedo, but what can you do? It was a great game, a really interesting high school look. Mm-hmm. But I like simple things such as the gateway that slides open and slides closed, because they'll shut that on you and lock it a lot of times from what I've seen. In fact, in Yandere Simulator, one of the death mechanics is a guy falling and closing the bridge on him. But getting to see the inside of school, not even just like the desk, because in a lot of high school animes, we'll see the characters sitting at their desks, looking out of the window dramatically, but seeing them
the roof that's enclosed by a gate, a fence every time,
and like walking around the hallways, seeing these stairways, seeing parts of like the courtyard, things we don't typically see in a lot of anime, and this comes from someone who's seen a lot of high school animes. And I found that fascinating because we were once again talking at the exploring. We get to see so much of this urban city, and getting to see more of the high school was fascinating to me. And actually, like, talking about especially the whole family dynamic, and this is another thing that Miyazaki's really good at, but a lot of his films focus on children and absent parents. And to be fair, we get reasons for her absent parents in this. Her mother is in college pursuing a law degree, her father is working, and I feel like, why is it like the only movie that we don't have like absent parents is Ponyo? Why is it just that?
Because she's a fish.
Okay, well, that's true, but I'm also talking about the boy's parents. Actually, you know what? No, her parents are absent. Wait, no! Oh, never mind. I guess I'm wrong. But, no, I found that fascinating, especially because we get to see her everyday life. We see her doing homework at her desk. We see her doing chores and running stuff up to the laundry and dropping stuff off for her sister and, like, her sister moving out. And that whole family dynamic was so interesting to me.
It seems to me that the strangest thing about Whisper of the Heart, we loved everything about this movie except the story.
Except for the plot.
And it's like, I just kind of want to throw it on, mute the sound, and just exist in the world. Or maybe just somebody create a video game where I can just wander through it.
Yeah.
It's one of those where it might bear a rewatch, knowing what we're going into. But on the other hand, that's also part of why we're throwing this out there. Check this out, but understand what you're going into. You are going into a kind of slice of life high school romance.
This is not your high fantasy Spirited Away film.
And give it a shot from that, especially if you just want to spend some time reveling in this environment.
Yeah.
All right, that is it for this week. We will see you back here next week.
Bye.